This is a Global Skills Podcast, conversations that shape the future of work and learning. We're exploring how we close the skills gap and build a future where everyone has the chance to thrive. From education to business, connecting people, ideas, and opportunities that drive change. It's about collaboration, curiosity, and creating real impact today. Because every skill learned brings us one step closer to a more inclusive world. The Global Skills Podcast, where learning and opportunity come together. Today on the Global Skills Podcast, we're joined by Betty Encinales, a global talent leader, headhunter, and changemaker who's worked with some of the world's top companies, from Goldman Sachs to Newsweek. Betty is passionate about inclusion, neurodiversity, empowering people to build meaningful careers. She really is a true connector of people and purpose. So I can't wait to dive into your story. Thank you for joining us, Betty.
Thank you so much for having me, Vanessa. It's a pleasure to be here having conversations with you.
So for many leaders I speak to in talent acquisition, at the first, I'm very keen to understand, and for many they describe it falling into this career path. But what was the decision making for you to end up where you are today?
Well, the truth is, it was an accident, my career path. I never knew what I wanted to do in my life, but I was always very passionate about helping and supporting people. And that's something that I always did naturally. But I studied law, and then I moved into international relations. And I have, as I said, no clue what I was going to do. So I started from selling equity and research in banks to actually moving from an accident with a client that actually started his own recruitment business back in probably 15 years ago. And he asked me to join him. And then I absolutely love the fact that I was actually making a change in people's life, because, you know, in recruitment is actually helping people getting the next step into their career path and also helping companies to attract the right talent to their business. So I thought that was the path for me, and I never looked back. It's just been 15 years now, and I absolutely love what I do.
And I think it's really interesting as well. I don't know if you had the same experience, but when I went to university, I chose a business degree because there wasn't really a recruitment degree. And I still don't think that is mainstream. So what were the traits that you felt you had that would mean that you potentially enjoy this path? And this is more so for other people that are maybe considering working in talent acquisition.
Well, there are many. I think that the first one for me is I always been someone that loves searching. I love finding the things that people cannot find. So I think I'm a little bit of a detective. And I think that when I start searching for people online, but also offline, how to find people, finding the person that nobody can find, I think that was something that I really was very interested. And also I think I am good at finding the things that people cannot find. That was one thing. The second is communication. I think I'm a strong communicator verbally, and I think that for me, that was easy to kind of connect with people. The other skill is being a good listener, and I think I have that skill and I developed that skill through time. I love asking good questions. I love finding out what people have been through in their life and also what they want moving forward. But I think the number one skill that I think it really resonated with me in this career is that I'm a great connector. I'm just naturally a really good, strong connector. I have actually matchmake 8 couples in my life that are friends into their partners. And yeah, that's insane, I know. But because I get to know people and kind of read people through time. And it's something that actually I naturally have. It was kind of easy for me to understand this person might be good for this. And there were so many roles that actually the person didn't have the career path, but I actually thought they were potentially good for the role and actually got the role and they were successful in the role. So I think those qualities are the ones that I found that they really make me exceed in my career.
I think you raise a really good point because you have that skill set, that intuition to identify the potential in someone. And so many people, I think, that work in this space maybe don't have that skill. How do you think AI and the evolution of technology is aiding more talent acquisition specialists to be able to do what you do naturally, to be able to connect the dots? Or do you think it's there yet?
I don't think it's there yet. I do think that AI it's a huge help in terms of administration task that we all have to do, like organizing meetings and reading some CVs, the ATS systems that we work with. However, I do think that the intuition is something that we humans have, and I think that AI hasn't really developed that intuition. I mean, this is something that you read people through a human connection, to seeing the energy, to seeing how somebody behave, how somebody express themselves. I mean, and I also hope that AI will never achieve the intuition, because I do think that this is the part where we make a difference as recruiters and as people, you know. So I don't think that we're there yet. I think we're still very important and relevant, the aspect of human connection, where you can ask different questions, where you can see someone's behavior, where you can see someone's attitude, you know, and where you can just feel people's energy, because you can feel people's energy. And I don't think any machine can actually do that.
That nearly sounds like a soul to soul connection, and you are right, that's beyond machine. One thing that's coming through from a lot of the interviews I've been doing with guests is that recruiters, talent acquisition specialists are so overwhelmed with the volume of applicants and screening that needs to happen. Even if they desire to do more of that human connection, they just physically can't do it. Are you experiencing an uplift in applications as well in the last year or so?
100%, Vanessa. It's an overload of applications. I don't think I never have this before. I mean, I've been working in the space for over 15 years, and I think the amount of applicants, it's multiplied by hundreds. Honestly, I have applications where I've got a role where I have thousands and thousands. So it's very heavy. I think that there's a lot of people that don't read the job specifications, and also they just apply like they don't really read. So actually you see a lot of those CVs that actually are not really matching what you're looking for, because people don't read the skills that we require or what we're looking for. So that's one aspect. And secondly, I think there is a lot of people obviously around the world now with globalization that you post a role that is actually based in London and hybrid. And some people in India applies for it, thinking that potentially they can just come and work hybridly. How? I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, you've got so much of those CVs that people just apply without reading or without having the skill set to really be the right fit for the role. And so, yeah, it's a lot. And I think it's when AI comes very handy, because we have an ATS that actually like filter that, and it's a lot easier for us to match some keywords to what we're looking for in the systems.
And what else are you seeing for talent acquisition today and recruiters that is challenging, that didn't maybe exist a year or two ago? And are there any things that you're doing in order to, circumnavigate the time being spent on that rather than, as you said, that connection with people?
Great question. What I've seen that is challenging, I think the amount of CVs that we're having, I think the amount of work that we're doing. I mean, before you kind of have more time to spend with people interviewing, more time to have a coffee, more time to just meet someone for dinner and having that connection, more time to really connect. I think now the amount of work we have in it's, probably less people on a role that it was for like 4 people, 1 person is doing that role. So you have the amount of work that is like for the admin person, for the searcher, and then the sourcer, and then you're doing like a lot of different tasks where you have to deliver. So the amount of time that you have to connect is just small. And I really have received hundreds of emails every day on LinkedIn, and people trying to have the call and have, saying, Betty, can you help me on this? Can we have this conversation? And unfortunately, I really, truly don't have a second to spend to listening to people on their career path. How can I help them? Because I don't have the time. So that's for me, the biggest challenge is that I wish to have more time to be present on the conversation, more time to ask better questions, more time to really understand what people are looking for, what companies are looking for. But it's less and less time because you have 100 tasks to do and finish through 7-8 hours a day. And it's not enough hours to so much work and admin tasks and things that you have to do throughout the day.
And is there a business impact of that? Because you're not the first leader to share this. And I think many leaders actually want to give back. They want to be able to give time either to people in the process or just give back to people earlier in their career that are reaching out. Like, but what is the business impact that you see when you don't have that extra time or capacity?
Well, I think that the biggest impact is that sometimes you don't hire the best people, the best talent. Why? Because you don't have the time to really interview enough great people. Sometimes you have this time frame where you're like, okay, we have to move. We need this starting in 3 weeks' time. Boom. I was listening to the other day to a great podcast with Stephen Bartlett, with the Diary of the CEO, which I'm a huge fan. Yeah. And he was saying that if you don't have the time to spend doing the great interviews, asking the right questions, and really spending time hiring the best talent, the business suffer because you're going to probably attract not the best talent, not the best people that you need, but someone that maybe fits that salary, that maybe just, throughout the process, he was the person applying, but we didn't have enough time. So I think that this impacts hugely. I mean, however, this is something I don't know if we can change it, unfortunately, because this is how it is right now. You just got so much amount of work that you just have to deliver. But I think that's the biggest impact. I think that I wish we had more time for better conversations and more time to really understand and attract and build those campaigns, strategies, conversations, meetups with the right talent. So you can build those with time and people get attracted to the companies and the businesses, not necessarily when just an opportunity open, but actually through time that people start kind of following the culture, following the roles, following, the story that the company creates. And sometimes we don't even have that time to create that story or that culture enough to attract the people that we really want to attract.
That is such a good point. No one has raised that. And you are right on Stephen Bartlett. He talks about the most important activity a leader or leadership can do is actually recruiting and investing in time and constantly looking for the best talent. And I think he shared something like they go through 1,000 CVs, applications, just to make a handful of hires. But clearly they've prioritized it. In a way, what I'm hearing, but correct me if I'm wrong, is like creating this nearly following or a community that's interested in joining your organization so that they're always connected with your brand. I mean, your brand is a perfect brand to do that because you're in content creation. So that is the idea that when a role opens up, you're heavily engaged with your candidate database so that maybe you don't have to use LinkedIn, Indeed, do an outreach. Maybe everyone's already engaged. Is that the logic behind that idea?
100%, 100%. Like for instance, my team, I'm very happy about this because I was noticing this, and luckily I have one of the best managers in the world who listens to what I have to say. We're creating more conversations, for example, with universities now, more relationships that we're developing with the new talent, the entry-level talent that we really didn't have in the past. Especially, for example, for a company like the one I work right now, which is Newsweek, where the impact, I mean, our brand in the US is very heavily known, whereas in the UK is less. So having those conversations, having those strategies to start building like conversations with universities or networks where you can actually gather the people that you're targeting in the future, not necessarily now. The problem I think that a lot of companies have, or the challenge, is that they're looking for one role, two roles when it happens, but you haven't really built into what people need to start connecting with time. And things take, this is a process. This is a process where people need to identify, listen, I can belong to that place. I will follow that person. For instance, when we were talking about Stephen Bartlett, I am a huge fan. I've never worked for his companies, but if one day that opportunity comes, trust me, I'll be very keen. Why? Because I absolutely connect with his brand, his culture, the culture he built. And, I connect already from all these years that I have been following his podcast and his journey. So I absolutely think that companies need to be a lot more aware on those things that they can create in strategies, marketing, events, conversations, without having a transaction. It's just more like, okay, we're not having a role, but we want to invite people to see people, to invite people of showing who we are, what we're doing, so people start connecting. And when the roles on the opportunities open, then you have that talent pool that is already like the people that you're looking for.
Imagine if talent acquisition was proactive rather than reactive. Imagine if talent acquisition was you were going to the hiring manager saying, you will need this role filled in 3 months, and we already have a community. Like, that would be the dream. Would you agree?
100%. I'm just getting just bumps when you were saying that. 100%. But unfortunately, I think that currently it's so busy that I have a lot of the hiring managers that I would love to have more conversations with them, but I don't even have the time to even have those conversations, to follow up on things that really matter. And what you were saying was like, imagine, I'll think that would be the dream, having those conversations constantly to like, this is what you might be needing. This is how we can help, not the way around where you just get the role and you don't even, so many of them as well. I think that so many of the hiring managers are not well educated on what they're really looking for. And I think that I see that more and more. They're super good in their jobs. They're amazing. But when it comes to who they need, what they need, it's very difficult to really point it and articulate it. And yeah, that's the challenge.
I think there's a real evolution happening. There's a number of companies that are now working on trying to build their own skills taxonomy, have this common skills language, because traditionally, even I experienced this dealing with hiring managers. They would very much hone in on, I need X years experience, I need this job title, because it's a safe bet. But the reason I bring this point up is you're talking about this proactive partnership and relationships you're building with universities. And I think the challenge on that side is sometimes these graduates are coming to doing amazing degrees, but you don't know the skills within the degree. So as a recruiter, you're kind of on this island. You have a hiring manager that says you years of experience, you've early talent that you know has potential, but this common skills language, no one is speaking. And in essence, it's kind of needed to connect the dots for both parties. What are your thoughts around a skills taxonomy, common skills language at a global scale?
I think that you're very right. I think that there is a lot of, I mean, it's a disconnect. It's just a disconnect. And unfortunately, coming back to time and what we can do in the middle, because we are the middleman, that we understand both sides of the story. I think it's about us educating more the hiring managers, and also educating more the other parties like universities or networks or candidates. But coming back to the time that we have, I mean, if you ask me, Betty, can you do it? I mean, Vanessa, I just really don't have this spare time to kind of do that. You kind of do your job, unfortunately, and that's it, But I 100% see a huge gap of disconnection. And I could see so much potential in educating both parties and having a lot more involvement. So, people understand what they're looking for, candidates understand what company needs to develop those skills. I think that there is a huge disconnect. And unfortunately, I've seen it more and more. But again, coming back to what you can do in your job is sometimes you have those conversations internally, but it's difficult to come back to action plans. What are we going to do? Because everybody's so busy. Everybody has a full agenda, and that's not the priority. Sometimes the priority is to fill the role, keep going,
And we said before, I think we're similar in that, like, there's heart in what we do. We actually care. And I know you do work on the education side, and that's where we've come from. We've been working with universities on the skills passport and a skills taxonomy to see, can we connect that dot? But now as we start dealing with businesses, we're realizing actually they're speaking a completely different skills language. There is this disconnect. The work you do on education in South America, what does that involve?
I absolutely love that, because I've been, as you're very passionate about education too, I come from a background where I was very privileged to have a really good education. Therefore, I came to England, studied my university, and have been successful in my career. But because I have the opportunities, because I learned English, because I had like the resources to pay that education, but I'm a 1% of millions of people in Latin America. And I think that, well, not the 1%, but I mean, it's a very small amount of people who have the resources to pay University International and learn a language. So I grew up understanding that this was very important. And if one day I have a chance to be able to do something for my side of the world or my country, I would wanted to pay back. And I've been involved into different voluntary work, and I've been a mentor, I've been a mentee, I am a trustee for organizations that promote education around Latin America and the world. And what I've been doing is being a mentor. And I've seen that those mentor programs, especially, for example, the one I'm doing right now with ORT, which is an organization where I'm a trustee, and they basically support education in Israel and around the Latin America and the world, really, with different skills for a young generation to connect when they finish their studies to companies. What we've been doing is they have a program where mentors have to follow some meetings and help, or not help, but support students and with their career path, and mentoring kind of with those skills on how to present better, how to negotiate, things like that. So it's been really helpful. I think that I've been watching the progress on this program, which is called the JUMP program for ORT, but it's in a very small scale. It's in the UK. It's only 20 something schools that we've been doing this. This has been running for the last 5 years. But I can see a potential of these kind of programs where people mentor, so you don't have necessarily to pay, but they're volunteers in companies where they can guide and follow a program with students, so they can actually learn some new skills. So when they can come out of university or a school, they can see, that this is not new, how to talk about a negotiation or presenting to a big audience or things like that. So I think that that's something I've been doing as on my free time and volunteering, but I could see that has a huge potential in terms of like having something set where skills are connected from what companies need, and students understand what they need to have to like navigate the working environment.
And now more than ever, as things are changing so rapidly. And I think it's the increase of applications. It's simply, maybe it hasn't hit mainstream media, but I think there's a lot of redundancies, a lot of people being let go, very under the radar. And that's why applications are rocketing. I shared on another interview that I worked with some interns, master graduates in digital marketing, who can't get opportunities. So it's a really shifting dynamic. And on that point about redundancies and organizations like making cutbacks, what I have noticed, and I'm interested to know if you're seeing this too, but talent acquisition and talent management are starting to work closer together, so that employees, they join the organization, and rather than they just hand it off to see, well, here's like unlimited learning licenses and just do education in your own time, they're starting to come together to go, okay, what skills do they have when they join? What skills do we need to give them? And another opportunity came up in an organization where they're helping people transfer their skills into new departments. It's not just you're fixed for life. So I'd love to know your thoughts about all of that, like talent acquisition, talent management, and then lifelong learning. And so we can try and retain people, as much as possible.
My thoughts are, I'm super pro education. I'm super pro of, because I'm a huge believer that you can change your skills or learn new skills and change your career path. And I'm a proof of it. I studied something completely different, and I have changed my career path multiple times, and I'm successful because I try different things and because I got to understand what I was good at. Finally, I wasn't good at some things, but I was actually good at some other things. So I'm a super pro into education, and I think that, I haven't really seen as much as I wish I experienced with companies I work with, which is I've seen that there's a lot more investment in other types of trainings, more for leadership and management. but I definitely would love to see a lot more education through people that just start their career. And actually, I've seen with some candidates that talk to me, and they have experience that they have been promoted because they're learning something new and they wanted to change and they have the opportunities. And I think companies should be a lot more open to promote these and really support people that are good, that they might not be happy here, but they want to move and pivot their career. And actually companies support that learning progress so they can actually achieve what they want. So my thoughts are, I haven't seen it so much, unfortunately. Maybe I've been, like I have experience in different banks. I'm very privileged to have the opportunities, but I think some companies are a lot more driven by results rather than kind of really nurturing their talent. But I've seen more and more companies that are evolving and that are really, they're evolving and they really know what matters, which is talent. I mean, if you understand and you have the leaders that really get that right, which is talent is the most important thing. Talent is the most important. If you don't get that, you will never invest. And unfortunately, a lot of companies I've seen, they don't get it yet. I get it ages ago. I work with people and I completely know it. And I think I would love to see that more and more, to see companies that really, really support talent to move across the business and to support them with the skill sets that they need to progress in their career.
You articulated it perfectly. What's the future of talent acquisition? If you were to look to your bowl and say, right, this is what's coming, what would you, any predictions for the years ahead?
Wow, that's a huge question. I've seen that if we as specialists and in talent acquisition are not find different ways to innovate with what we can have as humans, we will disappear at some point, because if you start seeing new technologies, you're seeing that there is a lot of new AI recruiters, and that's where the future is kind of heading. Like having this person that can screen a lot of 100 CVs in times that we as humans we cannot. However, I still think that the future will involve that intuition, that human connection, and I think it's vital for any business that you have people like us who can ask the better questions, who can feel the energy of people, who can understand the culture and understand if that person could be a good fit for the company. So I still feel that it won't disappear if we also get more skills to understand that it's not just filling a role. It's actually educating, it's actually interacting, it's actually spending the time, it's actually understanding the culture, it's actually making a difference with what we do. But if we don't understand that, I think machines will be able to do a lot of things that we currently do in the getting the CVs and all of it. All the screens is going to be replaced very soon, and it's actually happening, the interviews. But I think the human aspect is something that we need to kind of focus a lot more in the connection, in what we can do in education and in that that I don't think any machine can be able to do. So that's what I think will still be relevant. But we need to create a lot more knowledge and growth to be able to be relevant for the businesses.
I know recruitment and evolved to talent acquisition about 15 years ago. I think they play an incredibly important part within a company. If AI can put the power in the hands of the recruiter and talent acquisition specialist to predict the future needs of the business around skills, I think that they will become very valuable to the C-suite. But I agree with you, if it remains this sort of manual screening, interviewing, and no real value add to hiring managers that are very busy too. But the skills intelligence is there, it's accessible. Okay, I have a closing tradition. You have a choice of two questions. You don't have to answer both, just one. Either one, is there a skill that you had earlier in your career that you don't use currently that you would like to start using again? Or if you were speaking to someone starting out right now, what skills would you advise that they should try and acquire to future-proof their career as much as possible?
Love those both questions. I'm going to answer the second one. I think for anybody starting their career, or for someone that is already seasoned in their career, I think there is one skill that I think is vital and that people is less and less aware, which is listening. Being present. I think that we all are very ready to talk, are very ready to respond, are very ready to react. But it's very few people that you can actually that hear you, but not only hear you, listening to your story. If you want to be good in your job, in sales, in marketing, in recruitment, if you're a leader, if you're a friend, if you're a wife, whoever you are, I think that that's a skill that I've seen less and less in people. I think that people are not paying the attention. They don't remember the stories. They don't understand because they're not present. So the skills that I will definitely encourage people to develop is active listening. Just ask the right, and also create different questions, like pay attention on the questions you ask and listen to the answers. Really listen. It's not about saying, hey, how are you? Just to click a box and be like, okay, I ask, how is this person? Is actually, how are you? And be present to listen how that person is. And what can I do for you? And really listen to that. So that's my answer. I think the listening is a skill that I think we need in this world. I mean, present when we're listening.
Betty, that was amazing. Really, really good answer. So different to what I've heard. And just thank you so much. I think what you've shared today, the two standouts for me, one, this idea of a community and following, and to harness that so that talent acquisition does become more reactive to your community, but proactive to the hiring managers. And then that piece that you're doing around education with universities and kind of connecting those two dots. I think more and more heads of TA need to take that seriously, because if we don't, we're going to leave the young people behind and we'll just be focused on AI and experienced people, which is not the answer either. So I just thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you so much, Vanessa, for the invitation. I really enjoyed the conversation. I love talking to fellow colleagues and understand as well how they feel, because I think we don't have enough time throughout the day to actually have these conversations. So I think it's really amazing.
Whether you're leading a business, shaping education, planning your next career move, or just starting out, you're part of a global conversation about how we learn, work, and grow. If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe so you never miss what's next. And for early access to new episodes, first invites to events, and a chance to connect with others driving real change, join the community at globalskillspodcast.com, because the future of skills belongs to all of us.